Over the last decade, Arcane Studios has made quite a name for itself as a studio, brimming with creative ideas and precise execution. Since the arrival of Dishonored, it's continued to nail brilliant fresh ideas, with Deathloop being the most ambitious and perplexing title yet, teeming with time loops, player invasion, and a jigsaw puzzle story to boot. Deathloop takes a lot of inspiration from old Arcane work, as well as some of the biggest titles in gaming today. It was set to be an interesting blend, as a once small studio in France decided to show just how bold they could be. Set on the island of Black Reef, which had somehow been infused with the 1960s, you awaken as Colt. Every day you die, you wake on the same beach, but every night you die, somewhere else.
What kind of the world is this? Ah!
Deathloop is a puzzle, where a man who remembers nothing tries to piece his life together with the scraps he can find. Who he is and why he's trapped there will be discovered piece by piece, with player bravery being rewarded by pushing the story further. All Colt really seems to know is that there are 8 visionaries, all of which must die within 24 hours. Deathloop is a massive package, but our concern with going into the game was how it handles the time mechanic. At the end of every day, Colt returns to the morning of the start of the game, with none of the equipment he's collected but retains the knowledge of everything found. Thankfully, there's no angry moon in the sky to keep you on your toes. What you'll find is each 24-hour period is split into 4 segments: morning, noon, afternoon, and evening. For every section of day, you can choose to wait or travel to one of the game regions. Whilst exploring any of these regions, which are small open areas, time never progresses. Time only progresses on 2 conditions, either when the player leaves the area or when they die. Death isn't something to consider as a punishment either. Although the player does lose any weapons or power-ups they have, they will retain any information about the game world. Information can contain anything from passcodes to locations of visionaries. There is no such thing as useless information in Deathloop. As a whole, the loop is a puzzle. In the beginning, it's impossible to kill the 8 visionaries due to the time of their appearance. Although killing them can be difficult, the real challenge is figuring out how to get multiple visionaries into one place at the same time. The world of Deathloop is densely packed with secrets beyond the game's story. As someone who doesn't genuinely feel the need to collect everything in a video game, our writer found that Deathloop had them prodding everything in the environment to find a slither of information. Deathloop has been described in some places as a roguelike, and that's only partially true, as our writer feels that this is more reminiscent of a Metroidvania game, where the target is to bounce between places as you unlock more information about them. Unlike a roguelike, Deathloop doesn't punish failure. You keep the knowledge that you found, as well as being able to keep some equipment bound to Colt, using the infusion system which can be discovered in an early part of the game. Deathloop is also not a game about getting from the start to the end without dying. You can do that as much as you want without any severe repercussions. Plus, Colt has an ability that allows you to die twice before returning to your morning wake up at the beach. If Deathloop is a roguelike, it is easily the most forgiving one we have played. The way the game is set up, the player is able to create a knowledge bank of where everything is. You'll find yourself getting to know each area of the game before you truly settle into figuring out its story. Cycling through these areas means that you'll learn where the shortcuts are, how to get healing points, and where the enemies are placed. As you follow each lead for each visionary, the whole thing begins to fall in place. Suddenly, the memory of each area of the game becomes another tool in your arsenal as you aim to take down the game's biggest baddies. Despite a tightly controlled opening tutorial, Deathloop sets the player free about 2 hours into the game. Even the game itself lets the player know the hand-holding is over. Once out of the tutorial, the only thing the game gives you are vague leads on the visionaries. Every step after that one, you have to make yourself. As stated, Deathloop is a massive puzzle, but it's one with dozens of correct solutions. Every time you complete a loop, there's a sense of progress. Sometimes it's information that can help you progress, other occasions it's something as simple as finding a decent weapon for future runs. Aesthetically trapped in the 60s, Deathloop still blends well with the steampunk style Arcane has gotten us used to over the years. It captures that carefree attitude of the time perfectly, as everyone just seems a bit too carefree. Despite knowing they are stuck in this time loop, or that a maniac is trying to kill everyone, there is an ever-present feeling that everyone thinks it'll work out in the end. It captures the time perfectly, but doesn't let the bleak reality of the situation these characters are trapped in completely escape the player. Despite a relatively strong story, there's a reliance from Arcane that the player will take in all the information they find out about Colt and the game's other important characters. Even if you miss it, you'll likely find the conclusion satisfactory, but due to the game's open nature, it's not massively difficult to miss important story notes. It's not something that will ruin the story for everyone, but I don't like that it's possible for some players to miss important story beats. Even then, Deathloop is a fantastic game, feeling like Arcane has completely mastered the movement they originally displayed in Dishonored. Navigating through these levels undetected is just as enjoyable as mowing down enemies, although the weapons feel great, with automatic weapons having an acute nimbleness to them, whilst heavy weaponry feels devastating to everyone who gets in your way. The whole thing is bombastic, strutting with confidence from beginning to end. You never tire of the game, as each loop allows for more creative thinking than the one before. Even after all that bundle of excellence, the player still has to deal with the invading Juliana. Unlike the visionaries you're forced to hunt and kill, Juliana is more than happy to end your loop herself. Most of the game's dialogue will revolve around her and Colt communicating via radio. Excellent chemistry between the voice actors create a fantastic on-screen pairing between the two. They even offer some fantastic comical moments.
Friendship is a beautiful thing, Juliana. You should try it sometime.
But I have so many friends, Colt, and we all think you suck.
Juliana isn't just some rogue AI who comes to take you down either. For those who enable the feature, the invading Juliana can be controlled by anyone online, or even a friend. It adds another layer to the excitement, as Juliana's arrival locks Colt's escape route. Players are then forced to hack their way to safety whilst they're hunted down. And it's a great system, one that helps create the ever-fluctuating world of Deathloop. Every time we settle down to play a game by Arcane Studios, they always blow us away. And Deathloop is no different. Its creativity was there for everyone to see during the build-up to the game's release, but to deliver with such pinpoint accuracy was an absolute masterful job. A comfortable contender for Best Game of the Year, Deathloop already has us thinking about the game of the decade in 2021.